If you're facing the problem of not being able to equalize after 5 to 10 meters, or if you just can't equalize your ear once you're upside down in the water, you are probably using an equalization technique called Valsalva, or even a mix of Frenzel and Valsalva without realizing it. I know how frustrating this is, especially when everyone else seems like they can just equalize so easily, and no one can really explain what was actually going wrong. In this video, I will share with you what finally helped me to fix my Frenzel so you don't have to struggle with the same problem. Hi, I'm Tian Yang. I'm an underwater content creator and freediver. So when I started freediving, I noticed that I couldn't equalize at all when I put my head upside down. After some times of practicing, I was able to equalize, but only when I used my abdominal muscle to push the air up. So what happened was basically I went from not being able to equalize at all to Valsalva, and then to a mixed version of Valsalva and Frenzel. So what I want to say is that I have spent an entire year after my first freediving course trying to figure out how to do a proper Frenzel. And in this video, I will share everything I have learned. Let's jump into it! So Frenzel is a technique that used to equalize your middle ear pressure during scuba diving and freediving by pinching your nose, close your glottis, and using your tongue and throat muscles to push the trapped air into your ears to equalize. And this technique alone can possibly bring you to 30 to 40 meters without tensing the abdominal muscles and improve relaxation. Now, compared with Frenzel, Valsalva is another equalization technique that might work in scuba diving but not really in freediving. When you are using the Valsalva technique, you are using your abdominal muscles to push the air from your lungs upwards so you can equalize your ear. And this can work in scuba diving because you have an air tank, it will always have enough air. But with freediving, when you want to dive deeper than 10 meters, Valsalva does not work anymore and you have to switch to Frenzel. So the reason is that the deeper you dive, the stronger the water pressure becomes and the smaller your lung volume will become, and then you will have less air to bring upward to equalize. So Frenzel uses only the air trapped in the back of your tongue and throat by lifting the back of your tongue, and this does not require any movement from your abdominal muscles at all. So when you take your first freediving course, your instructor usually would explain Frenzel like this. Pinch the nose, close the glottis, position the tongue against the roof of your mouth, and push the tongue upwards to compress the air. Sounds simple, right? But somehow it just doesn't work anymore when you put your head down in the water and trying to do the same thing. And this is exactly where I was stuck for an entire year. I watched so many YouTube videos, asked so many freediving instructors, and cried so many times in the toilet while I was changing my wetsuit, and still no one can figure out what was actually going wrong. Finally, after 1 year, I met a senior freediving instructor from the UK. He watched me while I was doing the Frenzel I thought I was doing, and then he told me this is not Frenzel. And after that, he gave me 4 special exercises, and I was doing these 4 exercises for consistently 4 weeks. And after that, I was finally able to do Frenzel in the water. Now listen, here is what you have to do. For those exercises, you will need an echo tool and some balloons. And those 4 exercises finally helped me to understand how to move the correct muscle in my throat to perform a real Frenzel. So the most important thing here is that you should practice each exercise for 1 full week before move on to the next one. If you move straight to exercise 4, this will not work. With Frenzel, you actually need only a very minimal effort to equalize. If you feel like you're pushing too much or you're tensing other part of your muscles, you're probably doing it wrong. The more gently you can equalize, the less oxygen you're gonna consume and the longer you can hold your breath. If you're curious how to actually train this, how to hold your breath longer, I have linked my last video in the description below where I explain it in more detail. When you just start freediving, it's always recommended to equalize too often rather than too little. We aim to equalize every meter we dive down or even every half meter. When we go back up, we don't need to equalize. So equalization only happens when we're going down. You want to equalize before pressure builds up in your ear. If you wait until you feel pain or if you feel pressure, it's already too late. And at this point, equalization becomes much more difficult. There's another thing called pre-equalization. That is, after you take your last breath, before you do your duck dive, and you're gonna do this pre-equalization 1 time before you dive down, so that your eardrum is in the right position and your ear can handle the water pressure for that first few meters. After the duck dive, the first time you're ever gonna do your equalization is probably after 1, 2, or even 3 meters. And that's why we need to do this pre-equalization to cover that part. Never look up while you do your Frenzel. When you do that, you put a lot of tension in your neck area and the tube where the air needs to travel to your ear gets squeezed. That's why it's become much more difficult for you to do it. When you're doing your line training, all you have to do is make sure the line is in front of you and then you know where you're going. For fun diving, sometimes I do look up just to make sure my head doesn't bump into the ocean floor, but I only do it momentarily and then I will bring my head back down, continue diving down. Equalize your mask. The deeper you dive, the more pressure builds up, and that means the air inside of your mask will be compressed as well. And if you forget to equalize your mask, the vacuum inside of your mask will pull on your eyeballs, which cause red eye, and that is what we call a mask squeeze. To avoid a mask squeeze, we have to remember always equalize our mask while diving down. Here's how you do it. When you're diving down and equalizing, and you're going to release one side of your finger so that the air in your nose can go into your mask. This way you're putting the air into the mask so you can avoid the mask squeeze. The last one is relaxation. I know everyone keeps saying it, but it really helps. If your technique is correct, but you are very tense and anxious in the water, you'll probably not be able to equalize. So you should feel really relaxed and comfortable while holding your breath underwater. This will help your equalization and allow you to go much deeper. Again, I have linked my last video about how to hold your breath longer in the description below, so if you're interested, check that out. So, those are the tips and exercises finally helped me to open the door to Frenzel and allowed me to enjoy the ocean to the maximum. I hope they can help to fix your Frenzel problem as well. So let me know in the comments how you feel about those exercises, and if you're facing any issue, please let me know. I'm happy to help. This is part 2 of my freediving tips for beginners. Thank you so much for watching. In the next video, I will show you the exactly dive gear I have been using throughout my freediving journey, what actually works for me, and what I would recommend if you're just starting out. So, see you in the next video.